Hope you're enjoying your day. I want to thank you so much and welcome you into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates, Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. And myself, my name is Chris Swan. Here's how you reach out, 419-794-3030. It's 419-794-3030, online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. On today's show, if you've got a CD or a certificate of deposit that is maturing soon, we're going to go over some of the options you may be looking at. How do you avoid those oh crap moments of retirement planning? And we're going to talk about a few things that haven't really withstood the test of time. All this and more. But first, we're going to check in with the guys. Nolan, not with us once again. You know, he had a short little layover here, I guess, last week, but he's not with us again. Jeremy Baker with us, no relation. And Scott Kirsch, guys, glad to be with you. How we doing?
Well, we're doing very well. Got past the snow we had earlier in the week. You know, in Northwest Ohio, I think we experience every season in a matter of a day or two. It's kind of crazy. So looking for the warm weather here this weekend, and hopefully it stands true.
Yeah, I think we went through a fake spring, and now we're in third winter.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you again, Jeremy, for stepping in, and I think we're ready to roll.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Absolutely. So again, appreciate you guys spending time with us as well. So let's go ahead and dive into the show. April, typically a month when a lot of CDs or certificates of deposit mature. And the timing comes in specific terms, usually from 6 months to 5 years. And a grace period normally allows you up to 10 days to do something else with the money. So I have to ask, does it make sense to move the funds into retirement investments?
Well, you know what? So I go back, I date myself here a little bit, but I go back in the days when I first got into, my career, started working, and the one thing they said is, hey, you need to start investing, and if you got any money at home laying around, CDs. That was the big talk back then, that's been, 35 plus years ago. And I haven't really, I don't stay up on that because, I'm, the health insurance and life insurance and, the estate planning and that. Are CDs really that big of a thing now? Because I looked at some articles prior to coming on the show, and I see some of these interest rates that are ridiculously low. And I'm thinking, why would I tie up 13 to 24 months of my $25,000 roughly, or whatever it may be, for less than 1%? I mean, that doesn't seem like that's a good investment anymore.
No, it really isn't. And one of the things we look to as an alternative to CDs is government I-bonds. Very similar to back in the day, Grandma would buy you a Series EE bond. She'd buy it for $50, it'd have a $100 face value. You'd cash it in a 15, 20 years, and you'd get basically double your money. Well, now what the government has, it's actually been out since 1998. The I stands for inflation. So it's an inflation-protected bond, but it's only really become relevant since probably November. The last I bonds that were issued in November came out with a 7.12% interest rate, and that's good up until the end of April. And they're going to come out in May with new rates at about 9.62%, which is significantly higher than a CD. Which
absolutely.
I looked at the largest CD today. I couldn't find anything more than 0.2%.
Wow.
So the inflation bonds, what you do, if you need some help, anybody listening out there that has an interest in it, you can call the office. We can guide you through the process. But you go to USTreasuryDirect.gov, and you can purchase the I bonds. And the way it works is you have to hold them for a minimum of 1 year. If you cash them out early, you would lose the preceding 3 months of interest. So if you cashed them out in, say, 11 months, you would get 9 months worth of interest. They credit every 6 months. So like I mentioned, if you bought before May 1st of this year, you would get the 7.12 and then the rolling forward of 9.62 in May. And they credit every 6 months the interest credits. But it rolls through, so if you bought one today, you wouldn't see the interest until month 5 because they assume the first 3 months they won't credit you because they assume if you cash it out today, you wouldn't get that 3 months. So month 5, right, you see something that credits to your account for basically the past 4 months of interest.
Is there a limit that how much you can put in these I-bonds?
Yes, it's unfortunately $10,000 per person. So a married couple could put $20,000.
So if I have a family of, 2 children, can I put them in their names?
You can, yes, you can. At individual, if they're age of majority, could put them in. You can also use them as gifting strategies.
Oh, okay. So that sounds like a much better alternative to maybe a 1% on a CD. That money is tied up in. Can that go down? Let's say I put in $10,000. Is that guaranteed for a 12-month period? My money has to stay there for 12 months, but is that rate guaranteed?
Well, the interest rate will fluctuate. So in this case, it's going up next month. So every 6 months, you'll get a new rate. So the money will get credited every 6 months, and then, like I mentioned, if you cash it out, you'd lose 3 months of interest. But nobody, and I hope inflation doesn't stay at 7, 8, 9%.
No.
It's not looking too good, though.
Into infinity, but yes, let's say inflation goes down to 0%, then you would just cash the bond in and make different decisions.
Sure. So that's one option to do something with your CD money when it comes due. We like to. One of the things I refer to these CDs that have little to no earnings is we refer to that as lazy money.
Sure.
And, I met with a client earlier this week, and we were talking about, I looked at some of their statements that they had, and they've got like $125,000 in cash in a savings account. That, too, is lazy money. I mean, when you look at the savings rates, when you look at the CD rates, if you've got some significant money into a CD that's lazy money, one of the things you can do is look at taking a portion of that, or if not all of the CD money, and purchase a life insurance product.
Yes.
One of the things you're going to gain with a life insurance product is you're going to have some death benefit built in there. You can also use that, and we've talked about this on previous shows, but you can also add some riders onto there. One of the big ones for retirees is long-term care.
Absolutely.
If you look at if you don't have any long-term care, insurance put in place right now, take cash, use it, that lazy money, use it to buy life insurance with a long-term care rider on it. And then you can also take that and have liquidity in the cash value that's in there. So that's a really nice option. One of those things that has never lost money is life insurance. We've talked about that several times. It's a piece, I always refer to it as a piece of the investment pie.
Sure.
You're not going to get rich on it, but you're also not going to lose on it, and it's always going to be there for you. So that's an option that has been very, very popular, is taking some of those lazy assets that you have, like a CD that's coming up for maturity here. So if you do nothing at all with the CD is going to renew at the same rate that it was, or at the current rate, but for the same term. So if you've got a 24-month CD and you do nothing at all, that's going to automatically renew at the current CD rate for a 24-month period. So you're
Correct.
kind of locking yourself into that. That's probably not the best strategy, is to do nothing at all, right?
Right. And one of the big selling points on a CD is that they're backed by the FDIC insurance.
Sure.
So when you take a look at different alternatives, like an I-bond is definitely, it's backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. And then when you talk about the life leverage policy, which offers chronic, critical, and terminal illness riders and coverage, that's backed by the full faith and credit of the underlying insurance company. So a lot of people are attracted to CDs because of their safeness, where they have the FDIC insurance, but these other alternatives we're talking about are relatively the same for liquidity purpose and guarantees.
Yeah, one of the big things you need to do is really, if you have CDs that are coming up and maturing at this point, you need to ask yourself a few questions. One, has your goals with your finances changed at all? Has your money goals changed? Obviously you're older than you were when you put the money in there. If it's a 12-month, you're only a year older, not a big deal. But if you've got a 5-year CD and it's coming up for maturity 5 years later, you've got to evaluate what your goals are. Have your goals changed? Are you looking to maybe invest a little more safely into the market? Are you looking for some long-term care insurance, as we mentioned earlier? What are your new goals moving forward? Do you really want to commit your money to a CD? I mean, that's a big question you need to ask. Do you like that lower rate? Yes, it's safe. If you're getting 1% or less, it's safe. It's not going to lose that. You're not going to lose that money, but is that going to cut it for you? And are you happy with that interest rate? So you have to ask yourself a lot of questions about what are my long-term goals or my short-term goals with the CDs that are coming up for renewal.
Sure.
A lot of things could change.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, too, is we're talking about a period of high inflation, is the fact that money you put away, when you think about inherent risk, so inflation is a risk. So that purchasing power of your dollar that maybe you put away for 12 months, 3 months, 3 years, 5 years, that $10,000, $100,000 that you have sitting at the bank is losing purchasing power because it now it costs 10 times as much as a gallon of gasoline, or your electric bill is much higher. So, when you look at risk and reward for investments, it's safe, but you also have to look at the inherent risk of the purchasing power that you're losing.
I was just looking at some of the interest rates here and on these CDs online here in this article, and it's kind of scary because when you look at this, here's one, a 13-month, $25,000 investment at a 1.15% is going to get you $312. $312.
Yeah, you're almost losing money.
That's
when you
like
consider that what things cost nowadays.
Well, so I have a pickup truck. That's like 2.5 tanks of gas, and I'm only earning $312 on a $25,000 investment. No, thank you. I'm going to move that money. But that's where we're at today.
Sure.
So once again, if you don't know what to do, you have a need with some CD or lazy money that's coming up for renewal, reach out to us. We can always give you some different options, different alternatives. We could look at the life insurance options. We could look at just taking that money and reinvesting it in different tools. And like we've always said, you need different buckets of money when you get into that retirement time. And reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help you.
The number is 419-794-3030, whether it is, talking about the life insurance option or the I bonds, as Jeremy pointed out there, there is a maximum of $10,000, to $20,000 for a couple, but still that is $20,000 that could grow at a significantly higher rate than you're going to get from a CD. Growing up as a kid, my mom would put money into an account for us with CDs, and I always thought of CDs, as a kid, compact discs. And as the wayside, maybe the same sort of thing with these certificates of deposit, not necessarily, going by the wayside, but not nearly as attractive or appealing. So being able to explore those other options, especially as you get closer to these mature dates, and there is a finite window there where you can make any changes coming up, or you're not sure when one is coming up. America's Retirement Headquarters can help you with that and explore the different options if and when that time comes, if is the right choice for you guys. With the number 419-794-3030, or you can go online to America's Retirement Headquarters. Jerry, I apologize, I didn't interrupt you there. You were going to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay. So again, the number 419-794-3030. I recently read an article that talked about the oh crap moments of retirement planning. I think I can say that on the air. The life events that can suddenly derail finances. What are some of these events that have brought people into your office, and how can you head them off with proper planning?
Well, that's I think you can say that on the air. Versus the other, Pete's, I don't know.
No, let's not.
we won't go there, right? That's a really good. I read an article as well and about that very thing, and nothing can blow up a retirement plan that you've got put in place than unexpected health costs and catastrophic health events. There's a lot of different things that can really blow up your investment and retirement and change directions drastically. Uh, you know, being the health guy and the health benefits guy here, this is one of the top things for me. And one of the things I really try to do is make sure that everybody that I talk to and everybody that I work with has a proper health insurance plan put in place. We don't want to go without the proper plan and then have that catastrophic claim of some sort and then have to dip into their finances and their resources that they've got put aside to bail them out.
Right.
And that's huge, you know, and it's we never plan for these things to happen. They just seem to all of a sudden happen.
One of my favorite sayings is life happens while you're making other plans.
Oh, that's a great. I like that. You don't have patent on that, do you?
I don't. I think it's like a Snoopy quote or something.
Snoopy,
like
okay.
that. So,
Well, I like
so
that. I like that.
they
I'm going to
might-
use it.
Charles Schultz might have a patent on it.
All
but
right,
you can
well,
go ahead and use it.
I'm going to use that. So one of the things that's important to do is to actually make sure that if you're in Medicare, then make sure that you've got the proper Medicare plans put in place. You can maximize your benefits and minimize your out-of-pocket expenses by choosing the right plan. If you don't have that in place, then you're looking at some significant cost out of pocket. This is very near and dear to me. I'm experiencing it right now with with my mom, and I put her back in the hospital, and she's actually got out of the hospital. It's I told them at the hospital I need an office here, and I need to be on staff because I'm here as much as I am at the office. But fortunately for her, I've got her in a nice Medicare Advantage plan, and everything of her needs at this point have been covered. She hasn't really had to tap into any of her investments or resources at this time, so that's a good thing. But trouble making financial decisions. I mean, putting it off and kicking the can down the road is another situation that can really put you behind the eight ball, so to speak, if you're not properly prepared for life's happenings. Losing a loved one, becoming a widower or a widow, and we talked about it last week on the show, or 2 weeks ago on the show, I should say,
Right.
where if you're not up to speed with what your husband or wife or partner are doing with their finances, and that person passes away, you could be left completely in the dark and actually in a bad situation when it comes to your finances.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's much easier to procrastinate. And it's not just a healthcare crisis, it's, a financial crisis as well. I know, recently I was in the hospital and had quite significant medical bills, but I did have the coverage in place. A lot of that thanks goes to you, Scott, for
Thank
that,
you.
because we talked about that, being 47 and I'm not very close to or in retirement. But I think a lot of folks, and financially speaking as well, it's much easier just to not think about it or not talk about it. And we did talk about that a couple weeks ago, where communication's the key, letting people know what your wishes are. And then for me, and I know Nolan says this a lot, it's best to buy insurance before your house burns down. So
Yeah.
having those conversations, that thought, it's not just an insurance piece, but also having your financial ducks in a row, because something could happen. I know my father was sick at 53. My parents didn't expect his income just to go away because he had an illness that prevented him from working. And it's not always something that you could prepare for, but you can have those conversations, the what ifs, like disability, I know, and we talk a lot about long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing with both of those, it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. But if it does, you want to have something in place. Same thing with your finances. You want to have sort of a catastrophe plan or something like that, or at least have those conversations where you're not just putting it off, because something inevitably is going to happen. I call them life-changing events, and normally you want them to be a positive thing. You get a bonus at work, you get a raise, or
Right.
you get, everybody loves those things, but it's often the things that we don't think about that you want to prepare for and have a plan in place.
And the crazy thing is, there's countless people out there. if you sat down and talked to them, in fact, the people in our office here, the people that we deal with, if you just take a moment and think about this, somebody that has been negatively impacted by a catastrophe in their life, whether it's a death of a parent or a child or a health situation that has caused a hardship on their finances. Everybody out there knows that. And then everybody out there knows somebody that's been, maybe like hit the lottery or a big bonus or something like that. Those don't happen as often as the life changing.
Not nearly.
No, because look, we're getting older, right? I hate to admit that, but we are getting older, and our health. I tell a lot of my clients, your health is not going to get better as you age.
Unfortunately, not.
Things break. So another thing to think about is, and I'm dealing with this right now with my mother. She's been in the hospital 7 times. She's been either in the hospital or in rehab 7 times in the last 9 months. So the last time when I went in to see her here just a couple of days ago, we had a very, very difficult decision, which brings me to one of the points here with your preparing for that catastrophe, and that is a lot of the older people want to stay in place.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is they don't want to go into a home.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. That's really, really tough. In the last situation that I had with my mom, I was at home with her, spent a couple of nights with her, and it was, well, to say the least, it was overbearing for me and physically difficult for myself. It gave me a whole new level of appreciation for what the healthcare providers and workers do in the facilities, the nursing homes and the long-term care facilities. Their job's not easy, and talking with Mom about, Mom, we can't keep doing this. We're looking at 7 times. And the peace of mind for the family to know that someone is watching over your loved one, and if they fall or if they have that health issue, that health condition, that sickness or something that causes them to not be able to take care of themselves, at least there's somewhere to have somebody take care of them. Long-term care is very costly. We've talked about that several times.
Not to belabor the point of long-term care, but it is topical. And I mention this a lot, that most, and you're experiencing this with your mother, you said 7 times, but most long-term care or that type of treatment is it's short-term and reoccurring.
Right. Yep,
so
absolutely.
It's like, Mom sprains her ankle, has to go into the hospital. Something happens, she maybe slips and falls. So it's very short-term and reoccurring, so you need to know your coverage. And the other thing I will say is, we talked about most people don't want to go into a facility. It's because they want to maintain control.
Absolutely.
So the way to maintain control is to, while you're in control, take control of your finances, take control of your health insurance, take control of the matters you can control while you can control them before somebody else tells you how it has to go.
Yeah, if you don't have the proper coverage in place, then you're going to be it's going to be dictated to you on where you're going to go based on the finances that you have available at the time.
Right, and nobody wants to do that, and no family wants to see their mother or father dictated where they have to go. And I guarantee you, if you ask somebody in retrospect, everybody's going to tell you, yeah, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. So I guess, our advice is get advice or put something in place before that happens.
Yeah, I can tell you this on a personal note. If you sit down and talk with your family member that is going through this, Mom's 84, and we're having heart-to-heart discussions about this, and she's receptive of this. She's acknowledging the fact that it is becoming an issue. She still likes her freedom, and she still likes her house, and it's difficult. And I know we had John Mangus on last week, and we were talking about preparing the house for the situation where someone were to leave the house and go into a nursing home. Talk to them. And one of the things that I've experienced with Mom is she's in a facility right now close to home, and they have a lot of different events that are going on. They have bingo and they have music. This is a neat one. They have happy hour on Fridays at 3 o'clock. I'm like, count me in.
I want that.
Yeah, you know. So, and she's starting to experience these things, and she's actually got a smile on her face again. And she says, "You know what? This isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be." So, talk to them. They'll tell you, and hopefully within reason, understand what's you know, coming down the forecast for them, because it's not easy to give up that freedom.
Yeah, and I'm sure with your mother, not only that, she probably the last thing that she wants to be is a burden on you and your family.
Absolutely.
So
that bothers her a lot, actually.
Sure.
So, you know, there again, you know, we talk about long-term care, we talk about estate planning. Reach out to us. You know, America's Medicare Associates, for myself personally, America's Retirement Headquarters. We've got everything you need here to go through and get coverage and get answers to the questions you may have, at you know, that are keeping you up at night.
Yeah, with everybody here in the office and all of our vast years of experience, there's not many things we haven't seen or dealt with.
Exactly.
So, you know, and with our own personal lives as well. I know my mother's 67 and she's about to retire here May 20th. So she'll be in the office talking about Medicare and all these other health insurance decisions that, quite frankly, I'm a little afraid to talk about. So I'm glad we have you in the office, because I don't want to think about it, but I know it also has to be done. So that's you know, kind of a plug for America's Medicare Associates.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we're not necessarily looking forward to it, but I know it's something that has to be talked about and has to be dealt with.
It's certainly, as you guys both said, you know, not necessarily going to be the easiest conversation to have, but I can assure you it is much easier than not accounting for it, because indecision is ultimately a decision, and then having to go, well, what do we do now? How do we make ends meet now, because we didn't account for these? We've been covering the oh crap moments of retirement planning, the things that can derail finances. As these guys have said, you know, life happens, and when life does happen, it is rarely an inexpensive thing. Sometimes it's for the better, but more often than not, it is going to cost you. So developing a plan to take into account, you know, there is going to be inflation. There is going to be healthcare issues down the line. We certainly hope long-term care isn't in the cards, but 70% chance these days if you're 65 or older. So it would be kind of foolhardy to not account for that. So taking the steps to avoid those becoming retirement busters down the line all starts with a simple phone call, 419-794-3030, or go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. I want to thank you for joining us so far this week here on America's Retirement Headquarters. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the masters who teach us about retirement planning, and also we're going to speak with, we're also going to talk with Jason Mattis to the